Good morning, Europe. It is Tuesday, the 13th of September. I'm Helena Humphrey, and here are your top stories.
Ukraine says it's recapturing yet more territory in its counter-offensive operation, but Russian forces are still standing firm in many areas. The coffin of Queen Elizabeth II is being transported from Edinburgh to London today ahead of a royal funeral next week. And EU leaders are battling over proposals to introduce a price cap on imported gas to avoid energy costs spiralling out of control. Ukraine says it's reclaiming more territory in its counter-offensive, pushing all the way to the country's northeast border with Russia in some parts. Locals in Ukraine's recaptured towns and villages are sharing their stories of Russian troops retreating en masse.
They started to escape in the evening. No, actually at 1:30 a.m. at night, the shelling began and they set fire to the places where they were staying. They were covering their tracks. In this way, we knew they were done.
Yesterday morning there were Russians. This morning there are already Ukrainians. It's not enough to say I'm happy. I just don't have enough words to express myself.
The Ukrainian resurgence is lifting morale in the country after months of little movement on the battlefield. Kyiv says its military has freed over 20 settlements in just 24 hours. But here in the city of Lyman, a gateway to bridges over Ukraine's Donets River, it's Russian-backed troops who are still in control and say they're holding firm in the face of the counter-offensive. The enemy's trying to break through, but we're holding the defence, says one. Another adds everything's fine, the district will not be handed over. Even amid Ukraine's optimism, the casualties keep mounting. Ukraine's presidential office says at least 4 civilians have been killed and 11 more wounded in a series of Russian attacks in 9 regions of the country.
The head of the UN nuclear watchdog has confirmed the cold shutdown of the Zaporizhzhia power plant's last operating reactor. A move to establish some security at Europe's biggest nuclear power plant. It's been the site of constant shelling, raising concerns of a potential nuclear catastrophe, and both Ukraine and Russia have been blaming each other.
According to the information we have, they are trying to consolidate the external power supply issue, including by, if possible, the restoration of some of the main, the old, the green. But as you know, this green, in some cases, go into Russian-controlled territory, so this might be a bit tricky. But the effort, as we see it, is to try to keep the plant operational.
The IAEA says Ukraine and Russia are both interested in its proposal for a protection zone to be created around the Russian-occupied facility. Grossi, who visited the site with his team earlier this month, says that as long as there is bombing, there is risk of a nuclear disaster. 2 inspectors remain on the ground to monitor the situation. Despite the Russian military presence, the plant is still operated by a Ukrainian company.
A moment of quiet reflection. King Charles, along with Princess Anne and Princes Edward and Andrew, ended Monday standing vigil over their mother's coffin in St Giles Cathedral in Edinburgh. It marks the beginning of the end of the Queen's stay in the Scottish capital. Tuesday evening, her coffin is being flown to London and taken to Buckingham Palace. On Wednesday, it will be transferred to Westminster Hall for 4 days of lying in state. While the vigil was being held, members of the public filed past to pay their respects.
I think it was a very serene in the church, and it was just a very surreal moment. That's what it was, you know. So we're all. She's at rest now. That's the main thing. Yeah.
It was overwhelming. It was emotional, but we found it was very calm and peaceful in there. which was nice to see. But the thing that I found quite emotional is the fact it's shocking to think she's in there. It still doesn't seem real.
Earlier, after accepting condolences from members of the Scottish Parliament, King Charles had said that his mother had greatly treasured Scotland.
Through all the years of her reign, the Queen, like so many generations of our family before her, found in the hills of this land and in the hearts of its people a haven and a home.
Now the focus turns to London, where Buckingham Palace is preparing for the arrival of the late Queen's coffin ahead of her state funeral on September the 19th.
In a week's time, the funeral of Queen Elizabeth II will take place here at London's Westminster Abbey. It is expected to be one of the largest funerals in history, with a TV audience into the billions. Over the coming days, though, there will be a lot going on here in the United Kingdom. The Queen's body is currently in Edinburgh, the Scottish capital, where it will lie in state in a cathedral from today for the next 24 hours, where members of the public will be able to queue up and slowly pass by to pay their respects. Then the Queen's daughter, Princess Anne, will fly with the body on a RAF jet down from Edinburgh back here to London, and on Tuesday night it will spend a night at Buckingham Palace before then moving to the Palace of Westminster, where the House of Commons and House of Lords is, to a hall called Westminster Hall. It dates back almost 1,000 years to the Norman invasion, and it is where both the Queen's mother and father laid in state in decades gone by. The coffin will be placed in the centre of Westminster Hall. There will be a 24-hour guard surrounding it, with some of the crown jewels placed on top. And 24 hours a day, members of the public will be able to queue up to process past the coffin to pay their respects until Sunday. Then, as I said, next Monday, the funeral will take place here behind me at Westminster Abbey. It is expected that perhaps over 100 heads of nations and governments will be travelling to London. The streets of London are expected to be packed. There will be millions coming to pay their respects to a Queen who 70 years ago was crowned in this Westminster Abbey behind me, and will have her final public ceremony here before a private burial at her home in Windsor. Vincent McAviney, Euronews, London.
The UK is united in mourning the death of its longest-serving monarch, Queen Elizabeth II. As young people pay their respects, many are questioning the place of the monarchy in today's society and its future, especially with a new face at the helm.
It makes us unique. Can't believe in, and we can differentiate ourselves from any other country.
I'd like to see the monarchy continue. I'm not sure anything about Charles, but I think the monarchy is a force for good.
You know, rising homelessness, inequality, and you still have one family owning such a big percentage of British land, you do probably think, well, it could surely be put to better use.
The traditions are quite old, and perhaps more money is needed when it's given to them that could be used for better things.
Recent data shows young Britons are turning their backs on the monarchy. A YouGov poll released last year showed 41% of 18 to 24-year-olds wanted an elected head of state, a number that's rising, while just 30% wanted the monarchy to continue.
With only 13 days to go before Italy heads to the polls, leaders of the major parties squared off in a televised debate hosted by a large national newspaper. The chief of the hard-right Brothers of Italy party, Giorgia Meloni, and the head of the centre-left Democratic Party, Enrico Letta, argued over soaring energy prices and relations with Europe.
There's Germany that doesn't agree on the price of gas because it has contracts with Russia, under which German companies pay a third of what Italian companies pay for gas. That also creates a competitiveness problem. We want a Europe in which Italy can also defend its interests and seek solutions along with others.
Letta slammed Meloni for admiring the governments of Hungary and Poland, whom he said want the right of veto over decisions that matter to Italy. He said, "We want a Europe that works with solidarity, the one that got together after the pandemic and made the extraordinary choice to give Italy the recovery and resilience facility money. That's the Europe we want to move forward. But we need to remove the right of veto and ensuring that we have the ability to be effective and intervene in those fields where Europe cannot intervene." Voters in Europe's fourth largest economy go to the polls on September the 25th. Meloni's Brothers of Italy party, which is in a three-party alliance with Matteo Salvini's hardline anti-immigration League and Silvio Berlusconi's Forza Italia, is polling at a total of around 48% against the centre-left alliance share of about 29%.